Take a moment. Look at your hands. Look at the small scars you have collected on your knuckles, on your fingers, on the back of your wrists. You picked them up from kitchen knives, garden tools, broken glass, the corner of a desk you walked into in the dark. They healed because the world you live in lets them heal. Now imagine that same body, that same skin, those same delicate hands, dropped without warning into the East African Rift Valley 1.5 million years ago. Imagine you are short, wiry, hungry. Imagine your skin is darker than any beach tan you have ever had, weathered by a sun that does not forgive. Imagine your only company is 7 other people who look almost like you, and almost not, and who have nothing. No pots. No fabric. No medicine. No fire that they didn't make from a glowing ember they carry in moss. And around you, all around you, are creatures that consider you food. That is where this story begins. Not with a hero. Not with a chosen one. With a clan, lying tired against a rocky overhang at dawn, holding nothing in their hands but stones. And by the time the morning sun is fully up, that clan will be smaller, because one of them will be gone in a flash of pale fur and ivory teeth, and they will not be able to do anything about it. For most of our deep history, this is what it meant to be human. You were food first, and a thinker second. The cave lions were larger than the lions we have now. The hyenas could weigh as much as a grown man and crush thigh bones for marrow without flinching. Saber-toothed cats ran in pairs through tall grass with 2 long ivory canines that did not need to slash, only to find the throat. We were small. We were soft. We did not have claws or fangs that mattered. We had stones, and we had each other, and that was very nearly not enough. So how did we survive? How did this clan, watching the grass for a shadow that might end them, become you? It happened, in part, because of one small object. An object so simple that you could make it in an afternoon if you knew how. An object that nobody alive today thinks of as a miracle. A pointed wooden stick with its tip darkened in fire. The first true handheld weapon of our species was not a sword and not a stone axe. The hand axes came earlier, and they were beautiful, but you held them in your fist and you had to be close enough to be bitten to use them. The bow and arrow would not exist for another million years. What sat between those two technologies, what changed everything, was the spear. And the moment our ancestors figured out that a wooden tip held over a fire becomes harder, sharper, deadlier than the same wood untreated, was the moment the food chain shifted. Slowly, quietly, but forever. Picture how that discovery might have looked. A clan crosses a stretch of savanna recently swept by a brush fire. The grass is ash, the air smells of smoke. They walk because there is nowhere safer to walk. And one of them, a young adult man with a fresh claw scar across his shoulder from the morning, he watched his brother taken by a saber-tooth, kneels by an acacia branch that has been broken and partly burnt. He picks it up. He turns it. He notices something. The end is black. The end is hard. He presses it against another piece of wood, and it does not break. It bites in. And in that long second, with the sun climbing over a valley that has only ever wanted him dead, his face changes. He understands. That is the entire revolution. A single hominid, primitive and barefoot, alive only because of luck so far, sees in his own dirty calloused hands the difference between living and dying. And then he does something that animals do not do. He takes the lesson home. He goes back to the fire that night, and he finds another long straight branch, and he strips its bark with a chipped flint, and he sharpens the broken end against a stone, and then, very deliberately, he rotates the new pale point in the orange flames until it darkens to charcoal and rings hard when tapped. He lifts it. He stares at it. And then he hands one to his brother, and one to his mate, and one to the older boy, and the air inside the camp shifts in a way that the predators outside the camp can already feel. The first throws are clumsy. The first practice targets are stretched hide hung over a thorn bush. Half the spears miss. But here is the thing. They get better. Within days, 3 out of 4 throws land where they are aimed. Within weeks, the clan is hunting wounded antelope from 20 paces. Within months, when the hyenas come back to the rocky escarpment in a pack of 4, expecting easy meat the way they have eaten easy meat all of their lives, the same clan that lost a brother at the start of this story stands shoulder to shoulder at the edge of a stone outcrop with sharpened, fire-hardened points held two-handed. The lead hyena charges. It hits a braced shaft and is stopped in mid-leap. The other three skid to a halt, look at each other, and turn back into the grass. That is the moment, somewhere on that real plane, in some real version of the scene, that the sun set on a world where we were prey first and rose on a world where we were not. And it did not happen because we became stronger. We did not. We were still short, still soft, still slow. It happened because we became the only animal that figured out how to extend our reach by 1.5 meters and turn that reach into something with a hardened black point. Could you do this? Could you, with everything you know now, drop into that valley and survive? Honestly, probably not. Not for very long. The skill of finding the right wood is not something written down anywhere. The skill of knowing exactly how long to hold a tip in flame so that it hardens but does not crack is something taught from one set of dirty hands to another over an entire childhood. The skill of throwing accurately under pressure while your bare feet pivot in the dust and your heart is hammering against your ribs and a saber-tooth is leaving the grass at full sprint is not learned in an afternoon. The clans who lived to teach those skills lost a lot of people learning them. And every meal that this clan ate, after this revolution, was a meal that another clan, somewhere, did not get to eat, because the predators they shared the valley with now had to choose more carefully where they made their stand. What this clan does not know, because they cannot, is that this small wooden stick will travel. From their fire it will reach the next clan over, and the next. From the Rift Valley it will reach the Sahara, and from the Sahara it will reach the Levant, and from the Levant it will reach Europe and Asia and the islands of the south. The fire-hardened wooden spear will be the standard frontline weapon of our species for hundreds of thousands of years. Stone-tipped spears will follow it. Then atlotls. Then bows. Then, almost yesterday in evolutionary terms, metal. But all of those things, every weapon you can think of, every story of a hunter taking down something larger than themselves, every legend of a small group standing against something that should have eaten them, all of it traces back to this. To a young hominid kneeling in burnt grass with his hand on a piece of charred wood, and the look on his face when he understands. So the next time you walk past a campfire in summer, and you see a stick lying half in the embers, look at it for a second longer than you would otherwise. Look at how the wood has darkened where the fire has touched it. Look at how it has gotten harder, not softer, in the heat. That black tip is the tip your ancestors lifted out of their own fires, somewhere on a plain that no longer exists, on a night that was darker than any night you have ever known. They lifted it, and they turned to face the dark, and because of what happened next, you are here. That is the gift of the first weapon. Not power. Not violence. Distance. The gift of standing 1.5 meters away from something that wanted you dead, and saying, "No, not tonight." The gift of going home. The gift of teaching the children. The gift of every single one of us. Look at your hands one more time. They are still soft. They are still delicate. But somewhere inside the long quiet history of those hands, an old man with a scar on his shoulder once pressed a piece of charred wood against another piece of wood and felt it bite, and decided to remember.